This is 2006 when Elijah was born. He has a condition called Apert syndrome. Inside and in every single way, he was a happy and healthy, normal boy apart from the shape of his skull. His mum, Caddy, was overjoyed to have a healthy, happy baby boy. However, just before he was 2 years old, he had an operation to expand the size of his skull, but he got an infection and then became severely brain damaged. Elijah is now 17 and needs 24-hour specialist care. His mum employs 20 carers altogether and has set up an organisation to help other people going through what she went through.
So Elijah has a tracheostomy.
Right, okay.
Which essentially saved his life about 8 years ago, didn't it? So he has a lot of secretions. So this machine here, which is called a Lardale suction machine, removes.
And does he have to have that all the time?
Yeah.
All the time?
Well, he has to have it, yeah. Don't you?
Nelly, sweetheart.
I went to visit Elijah and his mum, who live in Clevedon near Bristol, while he was having a session speaking on a system that reads his eye gaze in order to communicate.
More to say.
Okay.
Can I tell you something?
Of course you can. What do you want to tell us?
Now, Elijah's mum, Caddy, herself has Apert syndrome and an incredible story of her own to tell. Now, she was born in 1968 with Apert syndrome, but they didn't know what was wrong back then. The doctors labelled her as severely mentally retarded, and her mum placed her in care when she was just a year old. Now, she had a very difficult life. She was sexually abused by her foster father. Well, we sit down to talk about her story and how we can get it out on new media.
And the reason I've travelled to see Caddy and we're working together is because of her story. It's as simple as that. It's an incredible story. Born in 1968, her mum was from the Gambia. She was just 22 years old. She didn't know, the doctor didn't know that you had Apert syndrome, which really just meant you had a misshaped skull and hands and feet. Mm-hmm. But they didn't know that really until you probably started talking. You ended up in children's homes, abandoned by your mum, children's homes, foster homes. You were sexually abused at the age of 12 by your foster father. Then you became educated, turned your life around, ended up working for various different charities. You ended up 10 years at a homeless charity in Birmingham. Then you had Elijah. And I want to talk about your spirit, because when I'm around people like you, I just feel such privilege. I do. It's just this warmth. To have had an experience like that, but to still be here and to helping others, it's just beautiful.
Rejection. Rejection follows you through your childhood and your teenage years. Abandonment is the same thing. Being brought up in residential care where you don't get loved. You get clothes on your back, you get roof over your head, you get food, you get fed, but there's no love. So when I reached about 16, I was really quite demanding, not demanding necessarily verbally, but I wanted to be loved because I hadn't been loved, really. Well, I say I hadn't been loved. I think there were various people throughout my childhood that did genuinely love me. I was really insecure. I wanted to be loved, so I was very when I met somebody, I'd physically be going, body language wise, be going, you need to love me, which then then I had further rejection because, when somebody comes into your life, when it comes to friendships or intimate relationships, they have to grow naturally and gradually. So when you've got somebody kind of almost demanding to be loved, just because of the insecurities and the lack of love that I had, it was when I became a born-again Christian that I then started to get healed from the abandonment, from the abuse, from the rejection, and God loving me made me whole. Is the only way I could describe it. And I would say that had I have not become a born-again Christian, I'm not sure I would be the woman that I am today. And then when Elijah became catastrophic brain damaged, emotionally, obviously, I was really angry, seriously angry. I would blow up at any moment with the nurses on the ward. So we spent 10 months in Birmingham Children's Hospital. I was angry. I was bitter. I was like, how could this happen to us as a family? I felt to a certain degree quite alone. I was on my own. I'm a single mother, so I had no partner to rely on or depend on or lean on.
And the church didn't particularly approve either, did they? Because it was sex outside of marriage. They didn't agree. So you...
Well, obviously being a Christian, when you fall pregnant, and you're not married, obviously it's not going to be received very well. In saying that, though, I have really good friends who are pastors who supported me and loved me throughout my pregnancy and supported me really well. Shit happens to us all. So for me, it's about, yes, abandonment, sexually abused, rejection, my child suddenly becoming brain damaged, and I got healed from rejection. I got healed from being abused. I got healed, even the life-changing impact of Elijah becoming brain injured. God continued to heal me through that journey, through that whole experience. But I also had to make a decision about whether I was going to allow the things that have happened in my childhood and my adulthood allow that situation or that circumstance or that hurt to affect where I'm going. I've had counselling, I've had I've had a psychology, I've had a fair number of psychologists. Psychology.
Therapy is so powerful, isn't it? That understanding yourself and your mission and your purpose and your values, and it helps you understand who you are and what you want out of life.
Yes. So therapy is I think therapy, when you've been through all of those things, is critical.
I have to just mention there's lots of gurgling noises because we're in the kitchen. This is your office and it's also the kitchen, and I think the washing machine's on. So, but we don't need to be in a TV studio, do we?
No.
We this is the beauty of this is why I was really drawn to you, Caddy, is because of your story is going to help others, not just the carers and the work you do with the Carers Collective, which is available. Where you said you don't have to pay if you can't afford it. There's funded places. Yeah. So not only are you doing that, but it's just for anyone who's having a tough time, who's had a difficult life. They'll see you and they'll think, I can do this. Yeah? They'll think, I can do this. So that's what I'm drawn to. So we have a budget tripod using my mobile phone, and this microphone didn't cost too much. But we're going to get this story out, and I want people to share it. Yes. Bringing a bit of attention and media attention to your story, I think, is really important. So we've done a press release. So we've been working together, which is just something I love when I meet someone like you. Working together to get... We've got people shouting outside. Working together to get a press release together, to get some content out to media. So it's been working with you. It's been really great on not only direct broadcasting, so I put it on my channels, put it on your channels, but we're also talking to magazines and newspapers to get your story out in Carers Week. Yeah. How do we sell a story to the media? So it's the reason I'm so excited about this is because people like you are what we need more of, I think.
Absolutely. Well, this week is Mental Health Awareness Week. So I would say we don't like, as human beings, we don't like making ourselves vulnerable, and we don't like asking for help. So I would say the first thing that you need to do if you're going through abuse, trauma, heartache, domestic violence, is pick up the phone and ask for help, which is is no mean feat, but it's about taking that first step. And if you haven't got family or friends in your life, because we're not all blessed with family and really a good circle of friends, there's so many organisations out there like the Mental Health Foundation, like Samaritans, where you can pick up the phone.
Absolutely, and loneliness is a big thing I'm picking up on at the moment. I think after lockdown as well, there's a lot of loneliness I feel, and people not connecting with community, and they got used to, I think, being inside during that period, and maybe can't get everyone needs community, don't they? They need
Absolutely,
community.
yeah.
That's really important, someone to talk to. And then, like you said, the church was very powerful for you, and also the therapy and the coaching. So thank you so much for talking to me.
Pleasure, thank you.
Inspirational lady, you really are. Really are.